it is still always just fascinating to me when you look at the percentage of land in Maine that is privately owned. And maybe this is something that you could speak to coming from the MITA perspective. Like,
Yeah.
looking at some of the other examples that I've seen across the country where there is so much more public land component, like, while it seems like a sort of challenge in plenty of ways, right? It also, to me, from the sort of outside perspective, feels so much like a massive advantage because there's such a requirement for the relationship management piece. And I mean, how that connects to stewardship as a whole, like there's such a rich connection there. So I don't know if there's like how
that's
you
a
would
big. I mean, to your earlier point, this could be a topic all of its own.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, the Maine, as you just pointed out, is very unique in the kind of amount of accessibility we have, but without the actual public land aspect of it. And one of the things is just to connect to my own love of education and working with people, especially in the realm of place-based education, is to think about how ecosystems and people are kind of necessarily interconnected and how history and culture is born from all those interconnections. And so Maine is unique. It's unique for a lot of reasons. One, it's absolutely stunning and beautiful and has what I think are kind of globally significant environmental resources, but also just places to recreate. And we have this history and culture of timberland and kind of privatization of land that those landowners did not want liability for. And so there's legislation that has allowed for them to allow access with limited liability. And so that is an underpinning that is unique to Maine and is not replicated in most places. So when we often talk to people around the country, organizations, nonprofits, and others, especially in coastal communities who want to replicate what we do, but they're coming from a different culture, they're coming from a different set of legislative rules, they're coming from, so it doesn't make it impossible, but it makes it different.
Yeah.
And you can't just take our model and apply it elsewhere very easily. So it's built on all the things that make Maine Maine, and the fact that we love and share the coast with all the people who work on the water, and the people who recreate on the water, and the people who come from around the world to visit it, and that interconnection makes it unique.
Yeah, it's just amazing to me because I think, when you talk to just the average person, I'm sure their immediate thought when they're talking about that kind of like land that we would be traditionally accessing for outdoor rec, right?
Yeah.
They're thinking of like the massive national park out in Colorado that, has federal protections and all kinds of different like layers in there.
Yeah.
But it highlights the incredible work that, like, whether it's you all with MITA or a number of different like conservation-based nonprofits are doing when it comes to that relationship management with those landowners, right? Because I've talked with some folks in the like trail building community, and they're like, yeah, like one of the biggest challenges is like you're always trying to manage that relationship, because if one of those switches, now like, am I rerouting a mountain biking trail that I'm building through Western Maine? So it's like, it just, that work, I feel like you cannot value enough in terms of like what you guys are doing on a day-to-day basis with that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's right. And your point that there are so many good organizations doing that work, both here on the coast, but also inland. And that we, the people of Maine and even the visitors, are the benefactors of, sometimes totally without our knowledge, that we're only afforded this because of that relationship building. I think is a really important point, and I think something that, again, if you grow up in the West and a state like Utah that has whatever 80-something% public lands, just isn't. That's not the reality. It's not the lived reality. So here it is, and I think it's a huge opportunity. I mean, in terms of, again, what we often, I think, take for granted, the things we have access to, but also that we have to, and I think whether that's at the government level or in the nonprofit world for sure, and in our work, we have to continue to put effort into sustaining, because the world will always continue to change, and just because it was true won't make it true tomorrow. So how are we continuing to do that good work?
Totally, for sure.